You can find me online at creativeandlife.com and on Teachers Pay Teachers. I'm Creative and Kinder. I just wanted to go over a few of my favorite things about ESGI before I get to meet the teacher. I'm a visual learner, and that's why one of the reasons I love ESGI, I find it very motivating. I need all the green, all of the green. When our district would say, oh, you should test 1 or 2 times a grading period. No, I'm like 10 times because I need more green. So it really pushed me. That might sound crazy. Before ESGI, I am an Excel sheet lover. I liked making all the things, but looking at all of them and comparing and figuring out how to create groups and whatever was very overwhelming. So this is perfect. So I just kind of created a mock classroom here for you to see. And so this is one of my fake students, and again, I'm just looking for all of the green, and that's very motivating to me. Another thing I loved is looking at the whole group. And so as a class, this was a great part of reflecting for me as a teacher, because if I looked at something and less than half of my students got it, I realized that that was a self-reflection, that it's something that I needed to work on. Clearly, I didn't teach it correctly or in a manner that my students could learn. So I had to redo that. And it was a whole teach situation. So this data really drives my instruction. Something else that I loved love about ESGI is that you can create your own test. We had our own report card, and there's a lot of great assessments already in ESGI, but I like that I could add my own things if it's specific to my children. So this was just an example of I can identify a word, I can identify a letter in a word, and it's yes, no, so it's really quick. You could do it from your iPad, your cell phone, your laptop, whatever. And so I found that I use this daily in assessing my kids. And more than ever, all of this data really drove my instruction, which was awesome. Another thing that I love about ESGI is looking at the bar graphs. If I'm doing sight word work, for example, one of the things I would do in my classroom is on the way out the door, there's a high five handprint, a die cut. And so I would look on this graph and see which word we're struggling with the most, and I would put it on the high five. So if we're struggling with the word there, I would put there on the high five, and students would high five it on the way out the door and say the sight word. So I use stuff like this to really not only drive my instruction, but to create really fun, engaging activities to help my kids step up their game. Something else, before ESGI, when I was doing my report cards, I would lay out, all of the paperwork, for miles and miles and miles, and try to do report cards. And that was stressful. Now I just print off the parent letter, and it has everything my kids know and do not know. And report cards were like that. And so it literally saved me so much time. And then I could send this parent note home that I use to help me fill out my report cards. Oh, what was that? Squirrel, sorry. To fill out my report card, I could send it home to them so they knew exactly what their student knew and didn't know, because I don't know about y'all, but our report cards, the print was this big, and it's really hard to decipher what students know and they don't know just by looking at that. So that was really great. So those are some of my favorite parts of ESGI. Also, I don't know about you, but sometimes you just forget who you tested and didn't test. There's a feature in ESGI that you can click on that says who you did not test, and so you never forget. It doesn't allow you to forget to test students. So I think that's really great. Okay, so a few of the things I do for prepping for Meet the Teacher is I have a set that I created for Meet the Teacher, and it has all kinds of things in it. I create different boxes. I do community supplies, so I'll label the boxes and put them out before Meet the Teachers, and I'll have students and their family come in and sort all of their supplies. Then these are all the things that I give them. They're going to be in folders like this out in the hall with the student's name on them, and it's going to be a volunteer letter where parents can check off if they're available for things. This right here says you're having a bright year, and so it's just going to be attached to one of those Dollar Tree neon bracelets. So I give them a gift. There's a scavenger hunt for them to find all the things in the classroom, a parent questionnaire, because I want to know more about their kids and who else is best to tell me than the parent. And so I put all of these things along with the district materials in these folders for parents to grab when they come to meet the teacher. Then on the first day of school, I have things set out. And here's a picture. We've done frames. We've done all kinds of things for the students to take pictures with for the first day of kindergarten. And here's an example of one of them. I also have a bucket with all of these things available, because just because you have a child that's named Susie, that doesn't mean she goes by Susie, and you need to change it. And so instead of wasting time and thinking about this and putting a sticky note and coming back to it later and then forgetting, and then Susie's all stressed out because I don't go by Susie, I have this little bucket available. And in the bucket, it has extra, because you always get those extra children that you weren't planning for. So it's ready to go. But also, when I need to change a name, I'm prepared to do that. So I get out my magic eraser. I go ahead and I do it right then, and I write the name on it. And before that student leaves my class for Meet the Teacher, or even at the beginning of the first day of school, they've already got the correct information on there. And just by having that available makes life so much easier. Something else I wanted to share with you really quickly is how I start my centers. I always start with fine motor centers, and I think that's really important because kids today are coming in really struggling with fine motor skills. This guy works, these guys don't work. And so by having this type of center available, and I have these posts available on my website, but having these available, it teaches them to share, to work together. There's no academic pressure at all. It teaches them to put work away, to rotate, all those things. So here's just a few quick examples of what my fine motor centers look like at the beginning of the year. Here they're stacking these tiny, tiny dice. It's like little surgeons at work. They're so quiet and it's meticulous. Here they're putting together locks, and you can ask parents if they have any old locks and keys they don't use anymore. That's a really great fine motor activity. Right here, this is a dish rack from the Dollar Tree, and they're just lacing with ribbon. I always have a cutting tub. The cutting tub will have different things inside of it, different types of scissors, different types of paper. It's a one-person work because you're using scissors, but it gives it an opportunity just to practice the motion of cutting, which is a really good fine motor activity. Here, these are erasers and screws, but you could use regular screws just to practice going in and out. And they're using these muscles, which they need to strengthen to help them write later. In this activity, these are salt and pepper shakers from the Dollar Tree, and they're putting in toothpicks. And whenever I show this in a session, some teachers are like, "Oh, toothpicks!" But I promise I've done this for years and years, and no one ever died, and it's so okay, and it's going to be fine. You just show them the right way to do it, and it's great. And here is an example of a tonguing activity. Okay, well, that is all I have for you today. Thank you very much for letting me share with you. This is my website and my email address if you have any questions. You guys have a great rest of your week.